Welcome back to the In the Court Show. I'm your host, Mr. B. Today we have a very exciting show for you. We are discussing Dr. Umar interview with Nick Cannon, where they are discussing interracial dating. So let's jump right into that. Seems to be some problems with the audio. Trying to get that right working. Not sure what's going on with the audio. Let's see.
Is far superior, especially in this day, and in her beauty, than
when we deal with interracial relationships.
Mm-hmm.
When we deal with interracial relationships, I always like to qualify the conversation for people who are listening, especially those outside the community, so that they understand I don't come from a place of hate.
Okay.
I have nothing against the Caucasian woman, Asian woman, Latin woman, East Indian, Arab, all the beautiful women of the world. I have nothing, but I'm real to the Black woman because she suffered the most.
I agree, bro.
At the hands of society, this planet, and because I come from a Black woman, I have a special obligation towards her. And when I look at when our successful Black men tend to marry out or reproduce outside of the community, I think on some level it can be insulting to our sisters.
Okay.
I consider it insulting to the community as a whole. And as someone who works in the school, I've had to entertain conversations with Black girls who are asking Dr. Umar, is there something wrong with me? Because it appears that when you all make it, y'all always abandon the community in pursuit of your spouse. And when we look at the wealth differential between successful Black men and the women they choose to marry or reproduce with, it's very obvious that there is a significant financial gain to the woman in many times, which equals a significant financial loss to the Black community.
I've heard you say this many times. That's a very small percentage of the group of overall interracial dating. Because there's only so many successful Black men at that level that can elevate and create generational wealth.
Okay.
Because if we keep it a stacked up, the most interracial relationships we see, because I've heard you say this before, the most interracial relationships we see is a strong, handsome Black brother with unshapely
right.
white woman
right.
that's happy to God.
He's equally at fault.
Trying to be this as clear as possible.
Right.
But it's a black man that can have any woman he wants, but because he can put his car in her name and he can financially gain off of this white woman who looked like she done had a couple of Taco Bell trips.
Right. right.
And she happy that she got her a black man. And those are the questions of why these young black girls like, why would he choose her and not me? Because she got the paper.
Right, but either way.
And that's the majority. Now you see the athletes or the entertainers that might get them a.
But that's because there's only a few of you at that upper echelon.
Right.
But for those of you who are at the top 1%, right, income bracket, y'all go out the community to marry more than men similarly placed in the community.
Just small.
Black men marry outside of their race more than every other group of men per capita.
And I'm not making this as an excuse or an example.
No, not at all. Yeah, but I'm saying that cannot be attributed purely to coincidence. So let me ask you a question directly, Brother Nick. You have beautiful African children by beautiful non-African women.
Right.
Would you say, honestly, your decision to reproduce with non-African women, was that deliberate? I don't want my sisters? Or were you a victim of unconscious self-hate programming?
Now, I've had this conversation on another one of my platforms with my brother Reza Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because online they cut it up. Okay. And they made it seem like I was saying.
And I didn't see that clip, by the way.
Yeah, it was a clip where it pretty much was, I was saying exactly that we've been programmed and conditioned to be that the white woman is superior.
Mm-hmm.
That's and I made all the statements that there was a time that and obviously all the sisters came from me because they just saw that element of the clip. There was a time in which white women were looked at as
the standard.
Not just the standard, but symbols of success.
True.
And or even that are unattainable. If we go all the way back to slavery,
forbidden fruit.
We not supposed, and vice versa.
Okay.
They looked at us like we ain't supposed to be messing with them, and we was looking at we are not allowed. We can die if we mess
but see,
with
that's
them.
the difference.
Yeah.
You could die messing with them. They're not going to die messing with you, though.
So I say all of that to say I understand the social programming, and I truly believe it so. And then that makes me, as someone who's done the research and the understanding, goes all the way back to even defining what is race and when was race defined. And as we know.
But before you define that, does Nick Cannon have a bias against black women when it comes to romance?
The quick answer is absolutely not. Because
how do you justify?
I say this because one, just as much, I got a white baby mama, I got a dark skinned baby mama too. So in that sense, I can equally say I ain't got no type. You know what I mean? Like I love women.
But I would push back because as a successful black man who has children with multiple women, for almost none of them, or let me take the positive, only one of them being of African descent, does that not suggest that you clearly search out those who are not of your racial group?
So that's why I had to go here first. And we're gonna, I don't want to get too deep. I want to talk over anyone's head of phenotypes. Because in that sense, when I'm talking about the origin of race, because before there was race, there was phenotypes. And really that's just based off of what we look like.
Okay.
So in that sense, to where in, I guess what the German doctor in whatever, 1700s, Dr. Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, the dude, the psychologist who said, who created race. Who hit, I think it was 7 identities, and it was everything from African to Ethiopian to white, to where they could put this hierarchy system that white was on top, therefore that they could classify while everyone else was subdominant. So in that, before that infrastructure was created, and that was even during slavery had already been established here, you know, in America before the term race was created. So it was phenotype and what we look like.
Okay, I'm gonna interject real quick. So clearly we're talking about interracial dating. Apparently Nick Cannon has a lot of mixed children from women who are not just African-American, who are also white. And, you know, Dr. Umar's whole shtick is he felt like black people should procreate with black people. And the way he started this interview was by saying that some of his black students, female students, are saying that the guys who actually have money tend to choose white wives, or, they tend to date outside of their race, and they feel like, it's almost a way of saying that that they're not good enough. Now, he said something about interracial dating, and it got me to thinking what the statistics are on it. And I actually pulled up some stuff. The Pew Research did some statistics that was published actually just recently, 2/12/2026. Let me go ahead and share that. So this is the Pew Research statistics on interracial dating. Let me see if I can get a bigger. So interracial relationship statistics. Relationships in the U.S. are increasingly common and widely accepted. Okay. In 2023, 30% of millennials had an interracial partner. Pew Research found 30%. Okay. In 2020, 68% of black women and 60% of black men were in interracial marriages, per the Journal of Interracial Studies. Okay. So it seems like there's more black women in interracial relationships than there are black men. Yet this case is making it seem as if more black men are dating outside of their race than black women. Okay. In 2021, 42% of interracial couples in California were cohabitating. UCLA data showed. In 2022, 23% of same-sex couples in the U.S. were interracial. In 2021, 12% of interracial couples were cohabitating. In 2018, 19% of U.S. adults reported having an interracial sibling. So the numbers are kind of all over the place. In 2022, 26% of Asian Americans were in interracial marriages, Pew Research noted. So this seems to be kind of across the board. It seems like interracial dating is up across the board. But then again, this is a melting pot. The U.S. is full of, mixed races, and obviously there's new generations of kids growing up, and they don't see some of the barriers that some of their parents and grandparents saw. So I guess the cliques isn't as clearly defined, and you would expect that to be the case. So let's see what the key findings are. In 2022, 20% of new marriages in the U.S. were interracial or interethnic, up from 7% in 1980. In 2022, 15% of all married couples in the U.S. were interracial. Per Census Bureau in 2021, Marriage and Family Study found interracial couples have 20% lower conflict intensity. In 2022, 65% interracial couples said their relationships challenges were not related to race. In 2023, 70% of Americans support interracial marriage, up from 40% in 1967. Now that's big. So it's more common in our society today. In 2021, 86% of GSS respondents now approve of interracial marriage versus 38% in 1964. In 2023, 53% of Republicans supported interracial marriage, up from 29% since 1994. The first few anti-miscegenation law in the U.S. was in Virginia, 1691, prohibiting white-black marriages. UCLA Lovett Institute noted. In 2023, 100% of U.S. states allow interracial marriage. Loving versus Virginia, 1967, struck down anti-misogynist nation laws nationwide per the Library of Congress. In 2022, 54% of multiracial individuals in the U.S. have an interracial parent. In 2021, 13% of U.S. adults identify as multiracial. In 2020, religious intermarriage was most common with Jews, 69% intermarried, and least common with evangelicals, 7%. Okay, so these are some of the statistics. I'm going to leave the link in this so you guys can check this out. This is on worldmetrics.org that kind of reported that. Now we're going to shift back on over to Dr. Umar's discussion, but I thought it'd be important to kind of put the numbers out there to see what it is.
Like the origin in which we came from.
Okay.
And as a Pan-African, I know you understand the ideas that even with, we've been there, even within the motherland, even in the continent, there's a hierarchy of complexionism. And sometimes even
introduced by the oppressor.
Of course, it's colonization, and even then now in the terms of I've gotten in trouble for this, talking about the power of melanin. In the sense of, as Tupac say, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
I would agree.
And in that sense, so yes, like I said before, there is an idea of the standard of what we believe to be beautiful. I believe a dark complected woman who embraces all of her naturalness is far superior, especially in this day, and in her beauty, than someone who is attempting to assimilate or look like someone else.
So if you have any more children, she's gonna be a chocolate goddess.
I got one. I have a daughter named Onyx. Beautiful. Now, but I'm not saying I'd have just as much love as I have for Onyx as I have for my oldest Monroe. You know
I believe that. I believe that.
And in that sense, it's unfortunate because I feel like we're the only community that has to deal with complexionism at this level. And
but white supremacy introduced that into us.
Because there's the caste system and the class system that's in India. That's
right, but caste that is true. That is true. But who introduced that into India? They were colonized by the British.
They were as well, but again, because as you remember, and it's in the books, and I don't want to say this because I don't want to, but even in the African consciousness, and it shows as we go all the way back to those conversations of when the white man did come on the continent, we looked at them as foreign and inferior.
Oh, absolutely. The white man was traditionally painted as the devil in African culture.
So before we
ever encountered him.
Right. So in that, it was never at some point, and however it happened through the colonization and all of that, this idea of beauty of a lighter complected, a thinner nose, a thinner lip individual was placed on us.
So you fell victim to that?
I don't think I did. I feel like again, like I said, it's so complex even in my world because, you know, one of the mothers of my children has a strong, you know.
So as you can see, I'm missing quite a few chompers. I'm hoping to find a more permanent solution for my dental
Islam background, and when I say Islam, I'm Muslim from Africa, you know, and those understandings, but she's lighter complected. One would look at her and wouldn't even know, or even in the sense of one of the mothers of my children is a dark skinned complected, but still can be considered Afro-Latina because. So it's
but African Latinas are still African.
100%.
Just a different language.
But even within their infrastructure.
Yes. They have the color hierarchy.
Yeah, there's
introduced by the white supremacy though.
Right. So when I say that, I'm not looking to see, how dark you are, how full your lips are, how wide your nose is.
Let me take it another way.
Right.
When Princess Onyx grows up with her siblings, you're going to have a conversation along with their mothers about colorism.
100%.
As someone who grew up in a home with a dark sister who was darker than me, beautiful, but my older sister was darker.
Right.
I saw how she suffered some of the pangs of colorism within my extended family.
100%.
So when Onyx gets to the age where she begins to recognize race, and Brother Nick Cannon has to have that conversation with her mother and the mothers of your other children and your children, your family.
Right.
You're gonna have to have this conversation. And when you start explaining to Onyx that your blackness is in no way a sin or a curse, it's a blessing and a power, right?
Absolutely.
When she reflects back to you,
her name is Onyx for a reason.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's black power, actually.
Yeah.
But when she reflects back to you as her father and say, well, Dad, if this color is all that great, how did you end up to reproduce so many children with women who are not this color?
Okay, I gotta step in here. Umar be bugging out, man. I think Umar be bugging out. He's always browbeating people who has a preference. As a man, if you like a woman that's not black and you decide you want to have children with her, that's your prerogative. I just showed you guys the stats. There's more black women dating white men than there are black men dating white women. So I'm gonna go right back to the stats again. This is what I just saw. This is what I just saw. I'm just gonna pull up the stats again, so nobody feel like I'm making this up. We're looking at it. So I'm gonna share the tab, and we're gonna. In 2020, 68% of black women and 60% of black men were in interracial marriages, for the Journal of Interracial Studies. If you let Dr. Umar tell you the story, the problem is on the male side. We're the ones dating more women of the opposite color than it is on the opposite side. But the research shows there's more black men dating white men. I have never, not one time, seen Dr. Umar sit down with the black women and say, what's wrong with y'all dating all these white men? Oh, y'all the ones outside dating, you know what I mean? Like women. And it's like, why are you doing that? The problem seems to be more on the female side than it is on the male side. But apparently, Dr. Umar feels like he's entitled to sort of wag his finger in Nick Cannon's face because he's got multiple children by different types of women. That's his prerogative. I'm not of the mindset that, you know, he has to have children with just black women. If he wants to have a variety of children, that clearly seems to be his you know, goal, let the man live his life. Whoever wants to, you know, kind of enters into that. He's going to determine how he's going to raise his children. But I don't think that's a very Christian thing to do. And I don't know if he subscribes to Christianity, but, you know, where we're so looking at people color as to whether or not, you know, we should be intermingling with this particular color over there versus that color. Like, let's let people blend according to their values and what it is they stand for. I mean, we live in a melting pot society where, as you see, there's a lot more mixing of races. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But Dr. Umar is kind of out of pocket because he's talking about Nick Cannon having to give an explanation when the majority of the women who's having, you know, the interracial marriage, according to statistics, it's black women getting with white men, not so much black men getting with white women. But he's giving him an earful, but I've never heard him give any woman an earful about this.
of wanting an assortment of flavors.
Get out of here.
It's the truth. I want to taste everything. I want to know what that tastes like. I want to know what that tastes like. And it's just, and if I'm being honest, sitting here, it's just like, and I said, I got in trouble, and I apologize because I didn't know it hit him this way. And I apologize again. I was on one of these podcasts and I was outwardly speaking, and I think it kind of came out the wrong way. I was speaking about my brother Travis Scott.
Okay, what happened with Travis?
And it was when, because
the situation that happened.
No, he has a child with Kylie Jenner.
Okay.
And I was attempting to take his side and say, the statement I made, I said, in Travis dating Kylie, at no point do I think he was attempting to make a cultural statement. And in that, I think it got perceived.
But is ignorance an excuse for irresponsibility?
You asked that question before.
Yes.
I think it was perceived as him saying, but I was actually saying, I do the same thing where I'm doing it for love.
Okay.
I'm not doing it to be right here to say I'm doing it for my community or any of that stuff. I'm doing it because I love this woman. Now it may be,
and I don't doubt
it may be ignorant because I'm not thinking about what the community is gonna think. I'm doing it because, man, I fell in love with this woman, regardless of her complexion, regardless of her race, regardless of her upbringing.
But do you have an obligation to the community though? You married her because you loved her.
No,
but do you have
because I get this all the time. You can't talk black and sleep white. You can't be black in the streets and white in the sheets.
I'm gonna say no. He don't got no obligation to no community, bro. The man, he's living his life the way he wants to live his life. He don't got no obligation. And I know Dr. Umar is clapping certain girls, certain white girls too. Like, he not turning away nothing. Dr. Umar is about that. He's not gonna be outside with it, but I don't believe Dr. Umar is holier than thou, like he's a purist in terms of who he deals with. I don't believe that at all.
When we look at
even Malcolm X was dealing with a white lady. So I don't even know what we're talking about.
Childhood actors.
Yes.
You are the most prominent, successful black childhood actor probably in American history.
Right.
People think of Nick Cannon. You understand?
Right.
So to all the beautiful chocolate black girls of the same complexion as your beautiful daughter Onyx, and even those of every other complexion, yours, mine, and so forth, for you to be the king of childhood actors, which means our daughters love you. They talk about you. I heard kids talk about you the other day in positive manner.
Right.
Do you not feel any guilt at all for the fact you did not provide them with that wholesome example of showing them how much a black woman deserved to be loved on by not choosing one yourself?
He's tripping. I don't know what Dr. Umar talking about. He's all over the place. I don't agree with nothing Dr. Umar talking about. I feel like this is probably a clickbaiting type of show. I don't agree with nothing Dr. Umar talking about. We just saw the numbers. I've never, not one time, seen Dr. Umar give no type of lip service to no females who's dating white men. I never one time see him having a conversation, with a group of sisters talking about, look, technically the numbers say you guys are dating more white men than you are dating black brothers. I don't see it. I only see him browbeating, black men who supposedly are dating, interracially. And we did a show on that before with Mace, and they talked about some of the reasons why some of these athletes tend to date the more prominent men who are celebrities or athletes. They tend to date white women or marry white women because they can win a couple arguments or whatever the case. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there was a whole joke about it. It was a funny thing that went back and forth. Y'all should definitely check that show out. But, I don't really think guys think about it all that deep. I think it's just a matter of what the vibe is with the person that they're interacting with. Maybe they're just not meeting the type of women that fits their what they're looking for. I don't know. And to be honest, I don't really care. Whatever it is that a grown man decides he wants to date, that's his business. You know what I mean? I don't think it's for Dr. Umar to try to, shame a person because they made their choice to be with whoever it is they felt like they wanted to be with. And he's using it as if he's like speaking on behalf of black women, when the statistics show that the majority of black women are dating outside of their race. You know what I mean? 68% as opposed to 60%, according to the statistics that we just read. So I don't know. I'm not with Dr. Umar on this one. I don't see it. Although I understand, you know, there's a lot of purists, right? Like a guy like Nick Fuentes says he wants to have white children because he wants to be a purist in terms of making sure that he continues to, you know, procreate with people of his kind and create people of his kind. He doesn't want to mix races. That's that man's prerogative. That's his choice, and he should be entitled to his choice. And if a black person wants to do that, like the Dr. Umar, it's also his prerogative. So I support him, you know, procreating with him, with black women, if that's who he chooses to procreate with. But there are some men who don't care. You know, if their wife is Asian or white or black or Indian or from the Caribbean or Africa or somewhere different, you know, they don't, that's their prerogative. It's about love for them. It's about, you know, their connection with that person. It's about their bond, you know, and Dr. Umar shouldn't go around telling people, no, you shouldn't do this, because to me, I feel like that's not right for him to do that. You know what I mean? But I guess it makes for great entertainment. You know what I mean? But I don't support his whole shtick on interracial dating. So to me, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If that's where your heart leads you and you feel comfortable, do your thing. You know what I mean? Do your thing. All right. Now, that's about to wrap up this particular segment. I invite you guys to go ahead and jump in on this particular topic and let me know what it is you think. What do you think? Is interracial dating good, bad? Is it something you would subscribe to, not subscribe to? Weigh in on the conversation, like and subscribe, stay connected, and let your voice be heard. All right? I'm Mr. B. This is the Intercourse Show, and we look forward to hearing your feedback on this. All right? So we speak again. God bless.